Board of Public Works. We have a quorum present. Zooming in is Commissioner Libby Hernandez. To my right, Commissioner Joe Keatner. I'm Chair Mary Monahan. To my left is DPW Director Carl Rossi. And to his left is Interim Engineer Victoria Houle. So we're going to move at 6:15 over to a presentation from Veolia. We're going to do a little bit of business before that, and then when Veolia is finished with the presentation, we'll go into additional business to conclude the meeting. So first order of business is consideration of minutes of the past meetings. So I have a copy. Libby, did you get a copy?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Joe, you had copies as well?
Yes, I have
okay.
copies.
Did anybody have any comments on them? These are the minutes from, let's see, June 3rd and the minutes from May 20th. Any comments? No comments? Libby? Okay, I reviewed them as well. No comments, so I'll take a motion to accept the minutes of June 3rd, 2024 and the minutes of May 20th, 2024.
I'll make a
So
motion.
moved.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Okay, the minutes have been accepted. Let's see. We do have, it's 6:04 right now. So with the approval of the board, because there are people that Veolia invited, I do want to wait until the 6:15 start, just in case there are folks that might be zooming in or coming in here for that 6:15 start. So with the approval of the board, I want to move down then to, we have another agenda item we can address right now, and that's an abatement request. And can someone make a motion to go to item 3D on the agenda?
I'll make a motion to go to item 3D on the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay. We have an abatement request from Kayla Rodriguez of 14 Laurel Street. And this might be a good opportunity to discuss with the public and any counselors here are listening, the fact that the Board of Public Works, probably 18 months ago, we adopted a policy so that abatements prior to that were just handled individually with no policy in place. This policy allows for DPW to share with those seeking an abatement the reasons why an abatement would be issued. Historically, there were a lot of abatements issued for running toilets, which is, we viewed that as a maintenance issue. The fact of the matter is those flows still ended up in our wastewater treatment plant, and the ratepayers were still paying to process that. If your abatement request is based on, let's say a problem, we just recently had one where a cellar flooded, all right, and the applicant showed proof of the fact that the cellar flooded, photos, and then, backup contractor fees showing that it replaced, that water did not go into the wastewater treatment system. So if the water that is the basis of your abatement request doesn't enter into our collection system, then we will entertain issuing an abatement. For those who have, we'll call it maintenance issues, and they know this when they file the abatement, they know what our policy is. It went into the system, so it's not fair to the ratepayers to continue to pay for maintenance issues in households and or apartment buildings. So with that being said, it kind of appears that the basis of this abatement request is a flowing toilet.
Running toilet, yes.
Yes. So do we have any discussion about that? Libby?
I do. I do have a discussion because as I was reading through the abatement, it did say that there was a water main break. So, I kind of was looking for more clarification, and then I seen that it was associated with the toilets. But did anybody clarify about the water main break? That the water department wouldn't confirm that there was a water main break?
So I'm not sure that there's a connection between a water main break and a running toilet. And she did note that, and she shows the receipts, they fixed the running toilet and the excess water usage went away. So, you know, the narrative itself makes that connection, brings it home that that was probably the reason for the higher bill for that particular billing period.
Yes. And it
Okay,
says,
I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't a water main break, because he does specify that in the explanation.
it says that there is she contacted the water department and they came out, did an inspection and confirmed that the residents had a water leak. Because the meter kept running even when no water was being used. So the water department suggested replacing the equipment, so.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So I'll take a motion to act on this, whichever,
I'll make a motion to deny.
okay. Libby, there's a motion to
Second.
deny? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So our clerk will notify the applicant of such. Okay, and let's see. So I'm looking at, this is our first time doing this, broadcasting our meeting, and so we do have a Zoom connection too, and I'm admitting certain folks as they pop in. However, discussion will basically be focused on members of the ad hoc committee and city councilors. So apologize for doing technical stuff right now. Okay, so with that being said, if the team from Veolia wants to come up and start preparing for your 6:15 or sooner start, you're more than welcome to do that. So I'll introduce who we have, and I'll introduce what the format is for tonight. So I think everyone here knows, and many of those listening, that we're coming to the end of what was a 20-year long-term service agreement for the operation and maintenance of the city's wastewater treatment operations. We're actually in year 19 of it. The contract end date is September 29th of 2029. So the city, through the Board of Public Works, with the approval of the mayor, needs to make a decision as to whether or not the city wants to enter into contract negotiations with the existing contractor for a maximum of a 5-year extension of the current contract, or to open it up for an RFP to request proposals from the market at large. So the schedule for this decision-making is going to be over the next 6 weeks or so. Just to update the public, for the last 24 months, there's been an ad hoc committee along with the Board of Public Works and the DPW Director that have been doing our individual and group research into what might be the best decision with respect to the ratepayers and the taxpayers of the city of Holyoke. And I anticipate that come late July, the ad hoc committee will report to the Board of Public Works their thoughts about the information we've gleaned over the last 24 months and make a recommendation to the Board of Public Works as to what actions should be taken next. The Board of Public Works would then vote on that, and that would trigger one of two things. Negotiations with the current contractor, Veolia, or the issuance of a new RFP. So with that being said, I'm going to turn this over to the Veolia team. The next hour and 15 minutes is theirs. They will be leading the discussion. Counselors and members of the ad hoc committee are invited to ask questions. Those that want to, please go up to the mic, and so that our team knows who you are. That they don't know who all the counselors are like we do. And I look forward to hearing this discussion. So Jay, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mary. To Mayor Garcia, to members of the City Council, to member of the Board of Public Works, Director Rossi, and our interim engineer. And a big call out to our Veolia team and to all the citizens of Holyoke. Thank you for this opportunity, and frankly, thank you for such a warm welcome. Open ocean sailing. Formula One, a C5 out of Westover. Now, those men and women that you see are all experts in their fields. And those teams are widely recognized as being top-notch performers. There are some very important lessons that today here we together can extract. The first is trust. These teams face extraordinarily unique circumstances, challenges, risks. And when they're facing those risks, a best practice, a thread that you can see across each of the different teams is that those members trust each other. Trust is certainly built by common experience. It's also built from great training. But the key message is that trust takes time. And when you have developed trust, like these teams have, you have a winning solution. The second lesson is continuity. When you are on one of these teams and you're facing an immediate challenge, if you were to watch what happens, you have people getting in the zone. And what that means is that they're focusing on the task at hand. They're focusing on the challenges that are facing them. They're trusting their teammates. What you don't see are swapping out key personnel as they're tackling the key risks. Veolia, Holyoke, it's an amazing partnership we've developed over these number of years. We have a tremendous amount of mutual respect and confidence in each other. We are your experts, operating a very complex system, and we face real risks today. And what we hope today in our conversation, this dialogue, is to really to explore that partnership. And with that, Mike.
Thank you, Jay. Mike's on. Thanks, Jay. Again, thank you, as mentioned, for everyone to invite Veolia here to present and discuss the long-term service agreement. We look forward to this discussion and many more to come. As mentioned, my name is Michael Williams. I am the project manager here in Holyoke. I'd like to give a shout out to the staff that have joined us here today. Some of these men and women have worked all day today and still volunteered their time to come support us. Together, collectively, the team of Holyoke brings together nearly 200 years of experience to the table. This allows for some serious work to get done. We also have Ozzy Pedroza here in the crowd. He's here to assist with any Spanish translation if necessary. So I'd like to thank you, Ozzy, for coming in.
Together, collectively, the team of Holyoke brings together nearly 200 years of experience to the table. This allows for some serious...
It was so good we needed to hear that twice. It's all great. Let me tell you, I get the privilege of working with communities all throughout the Northeast, and this is a very special place. So call out to the team that's actually managing this. It's spectacular. So, you know, when you talk to city officials, elected officials in Holyoke, appointed officials, and frankly concerned citizens, it's very interesting to see the enthusiasm. It's tangible. People are excited about this community, right? They see good things happening and they want to be part of something even better. One of the things that became very clear was that you could easily identify what the key goals are for the community. Bring in new industry, stay green. Mayor Garcia was very clear in the State of the City address when he said, it's the taxpayers' money. You've got to make sure that if you have stewardship over government infrastructure, you're doing it well. And certainly there is a desire to expand the community engagement. Veolia has been and is committed to reaching with Holyoke each of these goals. And we think it's important that we be measured against that. Now, there may be some, which is fair, that say, I don't know who Veolia is. At its core, it's about layering support. In the very center is Holyoke. You are immediately layered by 17 full-time employees here in Holyoke. On top of them is another layer. 24 municipalities in this Commonwealth are partnering today with Veolia. On top of that, in the United States, there are a total of 240 municipalities that have also joined us in partnership. Around the globe, just for wastewater, over 3,500 wastewater treatment plants are run by Veolia. Layering of support for Holyoke. What does that mean? It means that when there are issues of personnel, there's redundancy. When there's an issue of training and support and retention, you have redundancy. When you're thinking about scale in terms of acquiring chemicals, about bringing in best practices, not just in terms of current processes, but laboratory advancements, understanding what's happening in the regulatory realm, Veolia is layering support for you.
So Jay mentioned what Veolia as a whole is, but what does Veolia actually bring to you locally? Many different tasks, many different scopes of services, including the operation and maintenance of the 17.5 million gallon wastewater treatment plant. We ensure that we meet and exceed the water quality standards set forth by the EPA and DEP every day. We conduct the maintenance and oversee all repairs done to the Holyoke collection system. Our goal is to ensure that we have uninterrupted services for all residents and businesses in the community. Let it be known that this system has an average age of 80 years old. Along with street sweeping, a serious and very essential function for the community to remove the debris, dirt, and stormwater pollutants every day. This improves air quality and water quality as well. The flood control system, nearly 100 years old, constructed by the Army Corps of Engineers. It is the most complex flood control system in the Northeast.
1, 11, 65. How are these numbers relevant? These numbers tell a quick story of what we together have accomplished. Over 1 billion gallons, 1 billion gallons, that's over 530,000 swimming pools, of combined sewer and stormwater that have been treated, not just discharged into the Connecticut River. 11 million. $11 million is a big number. It is hard capital that has been invested just inside of the wastewater treatment plant, or as it is called here, the Water Pollution Control Facility. Important and significant efforts that have been successfully implemented. For those of you that know Mike Williams and his team, they don't toot their horn. Now's a chance with this number, 65. In Massachusetts, in the Commonwealth, there have been tremendous upgrades and changes to the rules of the road, the permit. How are you supposed to operate the system? For good reason, but a new reason, there was a requirement to remove nitrogen. Your plant was never built to do that. In fact, most plants were never built to do that. When the new permit was issued, you have sister communities, and I was talking to the mayor about this, and he was floored. You have sister communities that were given this year a requirement. They weren't being asked. They were told to immediately implement a capital program. One of your communities is paying $65 million to upgrade their wastewater treatment plant to do nitrogen removal. But it didn't happen here. And the reason it didn't happen is because Veolia knew that the regulation was going to change. We got ahead of the challenges here and did what we could. Mike and his team did what they could to put in place intelligent ways to tackle the issue of nitrogen levels, to do it in a way that was effective for the moment. So when the regulator looked at it, you know what they said to Holyoke? You did a good job. Keep it the same. You don't have a requirement. That is what a partner does. Now, as Chair Monahan described eloquently, the city faces a choice. There's a window of opportunity, which is from October of this year through March of next year, to make a decision. That decision, there's really only three decisions. The first decision, take the existing contract, tell Veolia to continue. It's your discretion. We can't say no. Tell us to continue to extend for 5 years. That's option one. Option two is, no, we'd like to modify the terms with Veolia and negotiate with Veolia. That's option two. Option three, clearly, as is articulated, is to reach out to the community, the competitors, and say, what do you all have with a full RFP? We respect the fact that, frankly, it's the city's choice. But I think it's important to pause just for a moment and reflect on two things. Every choice has a cost. The first choice, we're just going to give it to you, costs the city nothing. I'm talking cash, because we Veolia have no choice. It's at your full discretion. The second is, if the city were to decide to negotiate with Veolia, our experience is, again, it's just our experience, is that that's around a $50,000 expense. Negotiating with us, having lawyers and engineers review it. When you issue a full RFP, which again is your full discretion, we're talking about obviously finding the documentation, releasing it, evaluating, picking, negotiating, transitioning, and then creating an effective transition plan over the next 12 to 18 months. Cash, $400,000 and up. It could be money well spent, but it's important to recognize that the city has this window of opportunity and has this choice. What we've shared before and we'll share again now is that communities in this Commonwealth are, in fact, extending, creating new opportunities with us and with our competitors under very different terms than the city has today. Because the way in which risk transfer has evolved over the last 18 or 19 years, we would like to share those with you. That is a free exercise. And most of that's in the public domain. The whole point is, it's about what you want to achieve, and we respect that choice is yours.
Trusted. As a long-term partner, I'd like to think we've earned the trust of the community. The Board of Public Works and the DPW has done their due diligence in 2021 and again in 2023 by having 2 third-party consultants review your assets and how well we maintain them. And great news, it's been validated that we perform the necessary maintenance to upkeep the city's assets. And our staff are well knowledgeable, trained, experienced professionals here in Holyoke. We are trusted and now verified. Operational challenges. We're going to look ahead at these operational challenges. As discussed many times here tonight, the removal of nitrogen. Hayes and Sawyer's conditional assessment in 2023 noted that we are not designed for nitrogen. And currently, we are meeting the nitrogen requirements. But advancements in the community for development, reduction of CSO flows, has the potential to require us to upgrade the facility. The intense rainfall that we've all seen most recently, many residents have called with many concerns. It is proof that this is stressing our infrastructure, the infrastructure that's 80 years old on average. In many of the wards, we see these sewer main failures. Most recently, Peck School, last year, a major sewer collector collapsed in the parking lot. This required immediate response to ensure the safety of the students and faculty while allowing the school to go uninterrupted. Traffic, pickup, drop-off, the school was able to continue while the construction was occurring. this was a very deep, challenging excavation. The sludge, or biosolids referred to in the industry, are only becoming more challenging. There's reduction of outlets. The available disposals are becoming more challenging, to say the least, to accept materials. There's going to be PFAS regulations. The water system has seen the new regulations, and we are expecting PFAS to occur in the wastewater permit as well, potentially in the next permit cycle. What does that mean? We need to fund capital expenditures. We need to partner to develop the best practices here in the community. $26 million is what's projected to be spent over the next 6 years. This is a number that's been validated through Veolia, along with third-party consultants. There's immediate need for CapEx. The image on the screen here is an actual representation of River Terrace in 2018. That red dotted line is showing a collapse of a hillside along the riverbank that unexpectedly failed. There's tools that can be in place to help mitigate and reduce these risks.
We've talked about high-performing teams, teams that function in challenging, changing, and risky environments. That's what we are in today here in Holyoke. So Mike shared the operational challenges that are surrounding our teams today. And he's also talking about significant capital requirements that are needed now, not to be delayed, but need to be implemented now. But that's not all. There is a significant focus that this DPW has already initiated and the city needs to be aware of. So there's two potential outcomes. We're talking major capital. One is you continue the way you are right now, bringing in new industry, which is tremendous. New residential, but the key is new industry. At the same time, you have the separation of the stormwater system, taking the rainfall and removing it from the wastewater treatment plant. That's tremendous. That takes the dilution away. So what is certain is that every 5 years you have a new permit cycle. We may have delayed the $65 million expense that other cities are having right now, but that is going to happen here. So thinking about how you approach that in terms of engineering, design, is very important. We're talking about putting a system upgrade in as it's operating. It's like fixing an engine on an aircraft while you're flying, right? It's not for the faint of heart, because you need to be safe, you need to be compliant. So that's one thing, major capital expense. The other is a little bit more positive, and I give a lot of credit to the Board of Public Works who already thought about this. The more positive, but it's a significant number, is the transformation of a significant expense on the city budget, the wastewater treatment plant, and translating that into an actual revenue gain. Can you create revenue from a wastewater treatment plant? On top of that, can that wastewater treatment plant reduce the costs? The answer is yes, but it requires significant study and high focus on deal structuring and financing. These risks are real. And frankly, these risks exist today. So the question for Holyoke is quite straightforward. Would you, if you had the opportunity, solve and address each of these risks with a single choice? You have a trusted and verified partner in Veolia. The risks associated with maintaining a complex system which is under great stress and strain is being taken care of by those men and women today, with the layering of support as we discussed earlier. The capital requirements. It is a lot more than just listing products, listing timing, listing costs. Veolia, as you would expect, invested a significant amount of money to bring in 22 subject matter experts for 3 days in early April. We had some members of the council and certainly members of DPW and the board in attendance when we kicked this off. Why did they come? This was not a dog and pony show. This was a serious meeting focused on one thing, you. Focus on looking at what is actually happening in the plant in relation to the permit, in relation to what is expected to happen over the next 6 years in that facility. We understand what needs to be done. Any vendor, and there are great vendors out there, great competitors of ours, will come into a new facility and they should take their time to learn the people, learn the system. They're going to want to validate any sort of engineering study that was done. They're going to want to make sure they understand the sequence of events and to sequence their engineers and their staff. That, to be frank, is normal. But that's a 12, 18 to 24-month cycle. Our perspective is this particular facility doesn't have the luxury of not having upgrades done, both in terms of safety and compliance, but also in terms of cost. The dream of transitioning your facility into revenue generating, it's not for the faint of heart, but we do this every day all throughout the world, and we are ready and willing to share. But it requires an equal commitment from the city, and we are ready to share how that's done. One choice, a trusted and verified partner.
I'd like to believe Veolia has delivered on these messages tonight. And over the 19 years here, we've accomplished many great things together. And this slide, yes, very busy, a lot of information, but we've been very busy here working. So trying to capture some key points, and like we like to think, are great achievements. Recognizing the attraction of new industries, where we can operate the wastewater facility and showcase it to the youth in the public school system, to the colleges locally and far. We've had many tours with various universities as well. We've also had the opportunity to host training events through the organizations of wastewater and water. So hundreds of people over the years have come from all over New England to see Holyoke and see what the facility operates and what it can bring to the community. On the message of staying green, we've partnered with some key stakeholders, and very exciting green energy opportunities have been identified for the wastewater treatment plant. There's much more information to come on that. We're looking for federal funding, but this is a very exciting project. We're looking forward to it. And caring for the infrastructure. The residents of Bowdoin Village experience backups regularly, but through the innovation technology of smart covers, we were able to install these devices and virtually eliminated sewer backups for the residents of Bowdoin Village. So HHA was a great partner on that. Through transparency, we live in a digital world. Everybody's got a phone. Things are quick. We've recognized that. So we're moving forward with developing maps that we can share with the DPW and the engineering team, that they can track our street sweeping, they can track the MS4 projects, they can keep close oversight on everything we do and provide as much communication as possible with the residents of Holyoke. And in the community, man, there's a lot here. We are rooted here in Holyoke. Through partnering as a long-term sponsor with the Boys and Girls Club, the YMCA, the Fiesta Patronales, along with the Chamber of Commerce, where we've attended many dinner, evening functions, and events, making great friends with some of the businesses in the community. It's been great for me as I started here in the community, getting in touch with Jordan and working closely with the board, or the Chamber of Commerce, as well as supporting all of the festivities around the St. Patrick's Day event.
In conclusion, it's really a call to action for Holyoke. As we said from the very beginning, we respect your choice. It's yours to make. We certainly encourage you to ensure stable operations with a trusted and verified partner. We hope that you do negotiate with us and bring best practices into this contract and allow us to be your continued partner. Incorporate our experience in revenue generation. We have done the modeling, we understand the different scenarios here, and we can dramatically improve the nature of the dialogue to ensure that you can get the federal funding that this community deserves. Any way you look at it, there's only one entity that's ready day one, and that's your partner, Veolia. We look forward. The timeline may be a little different. We had initially thought it would be early August, but at the end of the day, there are very specific details associated with our investment and innovation that we would be delivering to this community to continue to deliver against the goals that Mike had talked about for any sort of extension. And I've just got to tell you that this is a tremendous honor, and we take it very seriously. And with that, we would love to open this up for questions and answers that pertain to Veolia's interaction with the city. And I believe from the direction we had, if you have a specific question, I believe they should come to the microphone and be happy to address that. The reason for the microphone is just that people at home could hear the question.
Hi, I'm Meg McGrath-Smith, the Ward 7 City Councilor. So I wanted to ask, particularly around, you mentioned it earlier, the issue that we've been having with severe rain. I remember reading in the Hampshire Gazette, it was a front page article last year that detailed that over the last 5 years, the number of severe rain events in our region in particular has gone up by 71%. And I feel like anecdotally, people are feeling that there are more severe rain events than there have been in the past. So I've been thinking about that and about the number of issues that we've been having around the city, many in Ward 7, but I'm sure across the entire city. We're a city on a hill. There's a lot going on in terms of what, when things rain, things flow downhill. And a number of issues that we've had with folks with needing to deal with infrastructure that we maybe don't have in response to more severe rain events. And what your plan is for that. And then my second question is really related to the number of sewer pipes that have collapsed and sinkholes that have opened up where you are attempting to figure out what is here and where's the manhole. It's been covered by roadway at some point, and sort of why that's happened. Why do we not seem to know where all of our infrastructure is? And what would be the plan to become more knowledgeable moving forward so that we can better anticipate these issues and know how to respond to them? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you for those questions. Why don't we take those questions in order? So the first question had to do with, it's raining a lot more, and when it does, it comes down in buckets. And the question ultimately is, how is Holyoke thinking about that? And I think what I might ask Mike to do is just to address the current stormwater separation process in terms of timing.
Yeah, thank you. So Ward 7, we are looking at sewer separation. The engineering team and DPW has identified River Terrace as an area of sewer separation expected to occur in 2 phases over the next 4 years. So by 2029, we should be fully complete with those 2 separations, which will eliminate those backups in regards to the high rains. As far as the sewer collapse, again, we have worked on digitizing these maps. So the challenge here is, especially, we have a interim engineer who's doing a fantastic job helping us out, getting us information, but there's a lot of paper maps still out there that are not digitized, and as developments were built or areas, intersections were changed, they were not actually brought into one map. We have stacks of maps. So that is why the challenge with where does this manhole actually go? Holyoke being one of the first industrial plant communities in the country, the sewer laterals also are one of the larger concerns. Where's my pipe? You own the pipe. I don't own the pipe. I can't tell you. But we should be able to. And there's technologies out there that, as we develop the next scope of services here for either the short 5-year or looking at the long term, we can incorporate them into our future services.
If I may also on that point, sometimes the truth hurts. there is not a GIS map that identifies all of the city's assets that are underground. Veolia's scope has been to clean, survey, and repair up to a certain amount, and Carl and his team have been fantastic with helping us. But they weren't in a position to give us an existing GIS infrastructure, mapping. So we're providing that and trying to help, but the reality is when we're looking and we're seeing literally pipes that connect, we don't know where it comes from. And so we have a procedure once that happens, but it's like a whack-a-mole right now, just to be very honest. It's a difficult situation, but we're living with it, and the key is this trusted relationship is working very well with what we have. That's the first thing. Second thing I'd say is, and I had an opportunity to talk to the mayor about this, so if you drive around Holyoke, there are a number of known problems which have covered, there's metal grating on top of that. Why is the metal grating there? It's safety. Was it Tybon? Third-party engineer firm, Tybon, did a report for the city, and one of the specific areas, this is painful, but it's important to be honest with each other. They looked at the existing replacement cycle. They looked at what we know from our systems in terms of what we've mapped. They looked at the work that Carl and his team have done in terms of the situation. They came up with a very tough number, $4.8 million a year, effective 2027 on a go-forward rate for at least 4 years. That is just to fix the pipes that you can't see right now, to replace and reline. That's a lot of money. And so I think the reality is the challenge that Holyoke and other cities face is just recognizing the current condition and understanding what can you do about it. And that, I think, is exactly what is happening right now. It's very different than if the DPW hadn't done these and funded these studies. There's very clear understanding in terms of what the challenge is. Now the next phase is, okay, where's the money and how do we go about making sure that the repairs are done in a very methodical, transparent, and cost-effective way. But I appreciate the concern that you raised. The one thing I would also share is that, particularly for the city council members, one of the things that we'd like to do, we understand it's the summer period, but July, August, is sit down with each of you and to show you the tools that we have that allow you for your ward to be able to identify what capital projects have been done, right? What is planned and what is known about the scope of the problem. That provides you, I think, the key is visibility, right? Accurate information and to be able to have that easy exchange. So we built those tools and we would want to roll them out to you so you can use them. Hopefully that answers your questions. All right, thank you.
Hi, Mike Sullivan, City Councilor at Large, member of the Ad Hoc Committee also. Could you go back one slide, the last one you showed? So one of the things, you're going to incorporate Veolia's experience in transforming wastewater operations into revenue-generating assets. Could you expand? I know it's scheduled for early August, but give us a mile-high vision of what some of those transformations might be.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you for the question. So not to be blunt, but hey, we all flush the toilets, and industry washes down equipment, and it goes down into the drains. All that stuff goes to the wastewater treatment plant, and we have to process it every day of the year. Whether it rains, it snows, every day of the year. And every day of the year, there's a requirement that the water that goes into the Connecticut River be as clean as is possible, right? And we always want it to be cleaner. Cleaning costs more cost, needs to be clean. And we're meeting those requirements. But every day that you do that, you also have biosolids being produced. Biosolids are very difficult to get rid of and very expensive. talk to anyone as we do, because we spend a lot of time regionally thinking about these costs, everyone is on the wrong side of this equation. It's very painful. Why do I emphasize this? It is viewed as a cost. In comes items to treat, out comes a product that I have to pay to get rid of. That's being charged twice. But there is a different, and Councilor Sullivan hinted at this, there's a different way of thinking about it. And there are a number of communities that have done this. For us, we have done it with Milwaukee. We do it with a lot of other communities as well. But it's very simple to think about for a moment. If you're able to receive the waste streams, prepare them properly, put them in an area, a container, a vessel where there's no oxygen, and you put microorganisms in there that actually eat the product that's inside this vessel, and they belch methane. They literally, as part of their biological process of breaking down these waste streams, release methane gas. That gas is then cleaned. In other parts of the country, I'm not suggesting here, perhaps, could be. In other parts of the country, that gas is cleaned to such an extent, it is literally injected into the distribution pipelines and used for whatever purposes. In other instances, it's not. That gas is used to generate electricity. Communities that have this capability, it's called anaerobic digestion, wow, do something a little bit more than that. Because typically the waste streams that are coming in from Holyoke by itself would not be enough to justify the expense. So what happens? You knock on your neighbor's doors and say, guess what? You're paying X amount to distribute and get rid of your waste streams. What if it's a win-win? What if for your taxpayers, your ratepayers, you decrease the costs? Say pay 70%, but pay that to Holyoke. Bring your waste streams to Holyoke. We will treat them. Now, this is not for the faint of heart, but it can be done. There's elements to this, but the topic is very simple. Your wastewater treatment plant could earn revenue by accepting waste streams from other communities. The waste streams could be spoiled beer. It could be yogurt, and it could be municipal sludge as well. Details are important, but that is where the revenue comes from. On the cost side, it's actually quite interesting. Two major elements happen, and I'll stop here. The first is you have the ability to take this gas that you're generating, clean it properly, and actually put it into a reciprocating engine or different kinds of engines and create electricity. Every day, create electricity at the facility. The other thing that can happen is the biosolids that come out the backside are treated to such an extent that it is eligible to be used for other purposes. Some purposes allow you to earn money on that. Now, the situation's evolving because of PFAS and PFOA, so that's why we have to be very careful. But at the end of the day, there are communities that are doing this. But you got to do it at scale. It costs a lot of money to do, and it's critical that you find the right kind of federal funding. Otherwise, typically these projects will not pencil. So hopefully that helps answer the question. And the end of the day is, we understand how to do it, and we're ready to sit down, but this is about a 5 or 6 year journey to actually make it happen. So thank you for that question. Final call. Well, if there are any other questions that may come up, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We're members of the community. We're very excited to support both you and the DPW in the journey ahead of you. Our message is very clear. We're proud of the fact that we are trusted and verified, and we look forward to being able to provide you stable operations. And with that, I wish you a good evening, and thank you again for the opportunity.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Jay. Thank you, Mike. So they're just one part of tonight's meeting. So actually, we're kind of thrilled. We have an audience. The Board of Public Works generally does their business without folks listening in, and I think it's great that those of you that can stay, we appreciate it. So we're going to continue then with the agenda, and Jay and Mike and the team, thanks. It was nice seeing you guys again, and we'll keep the discussion moving forward. So.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So, moving on to consent item agenda. So, we have the DPW Director's Report and the City Engineer's Report. Okay. We're going to give a few minutes for people to move. Bye, folks. That's what you. Okay, we still have a little crowd here, and that's great. All right. So I'm going to let Victoria go first on the agenda. It's the director, but we'll let the city engineer give her report. And then just to note that some of the opportunities, the items that were introduced in this presentation from the Board of Public Works and the DPW side, we're going to discuss some of the actions that, independent of any sort of contract, we've been moving forward on. So those that will stay and listen will hear some of those opportunities that are actually moving forward now. But with that, Victoria?
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to start with grants. I did unhighlight a lot of these, but because we've had a lot of grants lately, so I was trying to iron it out. But there is a fiscal year 25, there was a grant round solicitation for the municipal ADA transition plan and sidewalk, like under that same program.
Right.
So we are completing the fiscal year 24 project for which we were given grant money for, and that's due on June 30th. But we did submit a grant application for the next round to sort of complete some last remaining sidewalk, curb, ramp evaluations, and then also to try to target city-owned facilities.
So these are architectural and, okay.
Yes. So it would be a continuation, and I guess there are multiple pieces of a complete plan. So,
Quick question, is Beta the lead on that?
No.
Okay.
Ty and Bond
Okay.
would be the lead. They have a consultant that has done more comprehensive self-evaluation and transition plans through multiple communities in Massachusetts, and he's a direct consultant of Ty and Bond. There is a small piece that would be done by Beta, which is finishing up some of the sidewalk curb ramps,
Okay.
but that represents like $16,000 of
Okay.
this 200. So
Super, thanks.
let's see. So then the next one, we have the fiscal year, or the federal fiscal year 24 funding for sidewalk and ADA ramps that was received. We are working on putting together a list of sort of CDBG sidewalks with the remaining money from our current rounds that we just did, and then adding to these new ones. And another one is on the Wisteria Hearst retaining wall. So we had submitted an application to the Mass Historic Commission for additional funding to supplement the CPA funds, and we did get notification that we're going to be receiving $75,000. So that's not the complete project cost estimate, but we are meeting with Megan Saylor this week to sort of discuss, and pair engineering, putting together some contract documents to see what could come in for bids and what we could do with the total amount.
Okay.
And then there is one more that I feel like was a little after I wrote the list, but we are also earmarked to get $2 million from EPA towards River Terrace phasing.
Oh, is that earmark from about 2 years ago?
From fiscal year 23.
Okay, so it's materializing?
Mm-hmm.
Super, okay. And is this going towards the construction end?
Yes.
Okay. And this will address in time any potential shortfall we currently have on the construction costs?
We think so. I was going to talk more about that when we did the River Terrace Phase A, because I
Okay,
did a separate
super.
summary,
Okay.
but I guess in the grant thing.
Okay, good
I'm not
news.
excited about it. Okay. So then, okay, street paving resurfacing. We are putting out a new, so we've had a draft list of the streets to be paved this year in 2 rounds that we've circulated with utilities a couple times to iron out where planned work was going and everything. We have to put the paving contract out to bid, so I think it was scheduled, I know that procurement had it, but I think it's scheduled to be advertised June 27th, but with bids due on July 23rd. So that would allow us to start paving in late August, September, round 1, and then we would follow up with a round 2 that's probably not like that much later, but we have it sort of divvied out there. And then in terms of the crack sealing and cape seal contract, I know I had mentioned last time that Indus had finished the repairs, and this is more a placeholder for me. This will be my first request for Chapter 90 reimbursement. So once we've paid them, we'll have that final receipt, and then we'll start the process of
Okay.
the reimbursement for those.
And the
2.
Chapter 90 past project closeouts, that's,
There are like 6 that they mentioned and sent to me, and I'm trying to take them one by one to figure out where they stand.
okay, super.
So, like, one of them is the Abatement signal, which isn't done yet. You know what I mean? But then there were 2 that, in Chapter 90's world, they called them 2022 microsurfacing and stuff in 2022. But those are these projects.
Okay.
So I was able to like find the
Okay.
documentation. So. Let's see, on the ARPA sewer rehab, this phase is sort of coming to an end. They're finishing out the last work. I did not highlight that, but on the ARPA building projects for the roof renovations that are at the annex roofs, the Children's Museum, and some of DPW offices. So all of the filed subbids have been received. There was an addendum issued that, because of the timing, meant that the bid needed to be extended till June 26th, but construction is still, I think, anticipated to be completed by the end of August. On the raised crosswalks work that we have awarded to Detour Construction, they have completed 2 locations. I think both of the Sycamore locations are almost done. The Sycamore at Sargent is waiting on the rapid flash beacon. And then the Sycamore Sargent at Chapman is done. I think it's the Sargent ones, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm balancing the microphone, plus that I didn't bring
That's
my
okay.
glasses, so it's a little hard. And then work at the Westfield Street location is scheduled to start today. And we're doing speed humps there instead of the rapid flash beacon in order to save the large tree and stuff. And then the next locations to follow after that will be Keene and Homestead. For the Dwight Street sidewalk vaults, so Campora has sent Vertex, which is Travelers like consultant, to review stuff. They've sent them additional information and gone back and forth a little bit, so we're still waiting on Vertex Travelers to review and approve
Okay.
the claim.
So for discussion purposes here, because I know that I have residents talking to me about why we still have Dwight and High Street with the barriers up, why haven't we fixed it yet? So this is where it was a private job that ended up collapsing the vault underneath the sidewalk a couple of years ago now. And we're still waiting on a solution to the insurance payment back to the city so that we can go in and fix that project. Is that an accurate summary?
Yeah, it sounded to me like they had put together bids to do the work, when the contractor came on board, there was additional abatement and stuff for runs. I was lucky enough to go in this basement and see, and I mean, it's very old.
Okay.
You know, hazardous material sort of everywhere. So for whatever reason, Travelers wants to like weigh in and opine on the cost before they do it. So if I think the city could proceed right now without Travelers' permission, but then we would be at risk with
Right, we don't
Travelers
have-
saying that we're
Okay.
doing a betterment. I mean, that was really one of the questions. Betterment, yes, we're not going to fall in, but
Right.
I mean, there's no hot tub planned, so it's not like that. But, and I was in touch with Campora at the end of last week to sort of say,
Okay.
like, where are we at to make sure that to keep it moving, and he's supposed to follow.
So we're still putting the invitation out to you to pull the trigger if you want to have the insurance company and those others that are standing in the way of this reimbursement back to the city. We'll invite them to a Board of Public Works meeting to have them explain to us why a multi-year delay in us getting a reimbursement and having our sidewalks in the heart of downtown still closed
Yeah.
off. So
Okay. One other thing to note would be, I think
wait,
we
one
were.
more thing on that.
Oh, yeah.
We have another festival coming up. Fiesta, that's not going to be done by August 3rd, correct? Okay. But we also have another downtown, the food festival in October. So see if you can make that a target date so that when folks come back for that festival, they'll see the barriers no longer there.
Okay. Okay. When they do the work, we were talking about a traffic and maintenance plan because the basement is truly underneath the sidewalk. And so
Really?
in order
Okay,
for the
yeah.
contractor to really be able to access it, keep the public away from it sort of permanently, but then make sure nobody's walking into it. I think it was run by the police department where perhaps making that section of High Street one way so that the contractor could sort of barricade off the whole sidewalk area.
So one lane, you mean?
Mhm.
Okay.
I think there are supposed to be provisions to be able to go up to, is it the bank? Like there is a business right after that section, so they're gonna
Okay.
try to do that, but that was one heads up. It will be a balance between be able to do their work in a safer, faster manner, but it's more of an impact to people.
Okay.
The Abatements, the mast arm was installed on June 4th. This signal is currently set on flash. Line striping is, this doesn't even make sense, tentatively scheduled for June 28th and July 1st, not June 8th. And then the signal will be taken off of flash after the line striping is completed.
Okay.
For Jackson Street in South Holyoke, I just have an item here that we have as-built of the plans, and I believe I got a message from Ty and Bond earlier today that it provided Veolia with, I don't know, a jump drive, USB drive of the as-built so that we could use it to update the GIS in the stormwater outfalls, because that's one of the initiatives I was working with Mira on, is making sure that every time we do a sewer separation project that we kind of keep track of making sure that our GIS gets updated based on the as-builts.
Okay.
See, on the MS4 compliance, so the stormwater management plan update and the IDDE plan update are both due June 30th. There is a meeting with Kleinfelder and Veolia tomorrow to discuss the updates to the IDDE plan. Mira is working on finalizing the stormwater, call it, management, I guess it's program, but that plan update. And then we'll follow up. There will be a semi-annual report that's due on July 30th.
Okay, and we're comfortable now that we'll meet those June 30th deadlines that are laid out in the consent decree?
Correct. I guess believe it's either 23 or 26, but we hit the 20 target for catchment investigations. So
Super.
we didn't, Veolia did.
No, good job.
Okay.
Because you and Mira have done a good job coordinating all that.
For the fire station number 3 and 6 mini splits, that project is being rebid, and there's sub bids due June 27th, and then the general contractor bids are due on July 16th. For the Springdale sewer pumping station project that is still earmarked for ARPA funding, we have the draft proposal from Tie and Bond, and we're reviewing it with Veolia, and then the project design phase is still marked for the ARPA funding, which has to be awarded by December 30th, so.
Just clarification, is this for, so this is strictly for preliminary design, so then we'll need to follow up right after that for final?
Yes, I mean, when I put together the RFQ and not knowing a ton about the background of the projects and stuff, it definitely was set up to be like feasibility / preliminary design, but they know that we want to go as far as we can with this amount of money.
Okay.
So they will try to sort of incorporate, if they could get to the 60% design, you know what I mean? Like they're going to try to do the work accordingly. And the only reason I speak to that is because it was the pumping station type scope. I sort of forwarded it to Veolia for the technical review, and I forwarded it to procurement for their review.
Okay. But the final design, there's no more ARPA funding left to bring
I don't think there's any more funding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just
it
a
is
thought,
possible.
when you're talking to Tie and Bond about the project, like any consultant out there, they should be aware of some of the grant opportunities. So as they're doing this, if they see whether it's MVP, the 604B, any of those, just give the DPW a heads up on a potential grant that can get us through at least to final design, and then we can kind of put it on the street for construction grants.
Okay. Okay. For the central fueling station project, we did get a draft scope of services from Weston and Sampson, and we've sent them comments back, so we're waiting on an updated proposal from them that have cost this time, and the funding source still needs to be identified once we get that back.
Okay. So follow up. Well, I think this project is also on the project list for the EJ Community Change Grant. I think I saw that on the list. We'll know that. So there may be a funding source.
How would that qualify though for you to change?
Yeah, well, it's all in how you tell the story.
Okay.
So we'll bring that up tomorrow at the 9 o'clock meeting. Do we have, we know what the estimated design costs are. Do we know what an estimated construction cost might be for the new facility?
I might be able to find that in the
I
original.
think it was about 2 million.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, so just be aware, because I did see that on one of the tabs, that this might be in there, but only for the study, if there's enough room in the grant to go through for construction, but it would have to be a 3-year timeline that it's completed. So, but we'll have that discussion tomorrow. Go ahead.
Okay. From a timing standpoint, I feel like because it was originally, both phases of that project were included for ARPA funding. So
Yep.
it originally did think that we could have the design done and awarded, and then, and then put it out to bid and award the construction. So I feel like they thought they would get it done
Right.
by the time ARPA could be done. So that's probably
Yeah,
okay
we'll
with
see if
3.
I think we have some drivers for this project that will feed well into the grant storyline.
Okay.
Okay.
For the parking deck proposal, I think we do have the revised proposal received, and I think at the time that I wrote this, it said waiting on the funding source, but we do have a funding source, so we're just touch base
We
again
have
with
$2.5
procurement.
million bond for
Yeah.
that. So
Okay, yeah.
just let me know So once we get through the proposal phase and accept their proposal, I'll have a requisition done for them.
Okay, I don't know what that,
I'm sorry, what was the funding? We have funding for
Yeah,
that?
$2.5 million in bonding that we did for all the parking garages and engineering and construction. Or
Thank you.
destruction, whatever.
I'll just follow up with procurement on how to do the next step. Then we have River Terrace. I said see separate summary, so we could go to that after. For the CSO long-term control plan, so we had a, okay, the way I worded this was weird. As part of the MEPA's approval for the River Terrace Phase A project, they noted that the city needed to schedule a meeting with MEPA staff to discuss finalizing the EIR process with MEPA in general as it related to the long-term control plan. And so they want us to formally submit the 2019 long-term control plan as another notice of project change that can then be used to solicit comments from, like, remaining comments from all of the agencies involved, including Mass DEP and stuff like that, that could then maybe be incorporated and finalized into a final EIR and close out the MEPA process. Because otherwise, we wouldn't be able to, they have said we can't do any more notice of project changes for projects. And so I'm trying to get ahead of River Terrace Phase B and the remaining CSO projects. We met with Ty and Bond last week to sort of go over a little bit more of the history of the projects. I'm waiting to hear back from MEPA staff about scheduling the actual meeting. Just to touch base, there's some questions on submitting as is, you know what I mean? Did they want updates, et cetera? But we will have to get a proposal from Ty and Bond to, one, help us do that submitting of the notice of project change. And then, and there's no funding source identified. I think they gave us a rough estimate of maybe $30,000. We don't have any money, but we talked about billing that on an hourly basis, right? Because there's maybe some different opinions as to what level needs to go into just submitting it.
Yep.
And then after that gets submitted, once the comments from all of the agencies are received, I think then there is sort of like phase two, and it makes sense to wait to understand what the scope of work is in terms of remaining comments to finalize the process.
Okay.
And we'll have to figure out where that stands and funding for that.
And this should be done in FY '25, for sure. We don't want to wait another fiscal year to, so since it's not in the
We have a deadline.
budget.
We have a deadline.
Okay.
Right, to get it out this year,
Okay,
out to bid this year.
does the mayor's office know we're looking for this 30,000?
No,
Okay,
This just came out.
because they were supposed to give us a proposal, and
okay, yeah,
we just had the meeting last week.
Yeah, it was only on Monday, so we're gonna get that 30,000 proposal, and
There might be funding in the new budget year.
right. Did free cash get certified yet?
No. Free cash didn't get certified for last year either, so.
Okay, so add to that list of projects that need to be funded in Public Works once free cash gets certified.
okay. On the pavement management system update, so Beta Group started the 2024 inspections, and they're partially done, but the total work is still anticipated to be completed by March of '25. On this VHB, I think we do actually have some of the draft memos related to Bray Park that just came in. So we'll have to review those, and I'll have a better update next time. Mass DOT paving East Hampton Road. So originally when we were first talking to them, they mentioned that they were gonna try to get in and get the majority of the work done by June 30th. When I touched base with them about sort of where that stood, because it hadn't been done. they said that once they had the contractor on board, the schedule was sort of delaying it. So they were going to come in sometime after June 30th. The good news was there was some HG&E work that was in the area that I could
Okay.
hurry up and finish.
Do we don't have to pay for any of the police detail,
No.
everything, this is all
Everything's
Mass
done
DO.
through Mass DOT.
Okay.
They bid it, they do everything. Another grant that, I don't think it, I mean, it's for the city, but I think I did find out that while Fuss and O'Neill is the design consultant, Mass DOT pays them directly, so, and Rob Weller is sort of the main point of contact, but there was a field meeting about the local bottleneck reduction on Main Street in the vicinity of I-391.
Okay.
On a somewhat related topic, I was requested to look at planting a tree in one of the medians that is in front of 679, like the old gas station,
Right,
but it's like right in front of the U-turn
okay.
sign
In the middle of the road? 'Cause
in the
There's-
median.
there's like a cobblestone, right? Is that how it is now?
I feel like it's a curbed median, but it's not very long, and it maybe is about 5 feet wide. And it would block sort of the traffic from the like upcoming street,
Okay.
and it would block the traffic. So they have asked to look at it. I think that I mentioned it to Fuss and O'Neill, and so while I don't think that there's any plans to change the medians in the work, there is that possibility. I also don't think that it's the best location for a tree.
So is there a lot of, let's just say, pressure on the request to put?
Because my decision was appealed,
Okay.
is what I was told.
Okay, your decision's been appealed, okay. So
By the person, I don't know.
who's it get appealed to?
It went to the mayor's office, and then it wasn't, I didn't really have a formal decision. Okay. I mean, I feel like if they want to, I have put it out there that Fuss and O'Neill, if they're gonna do something with the medians and they're gonna do something in part of the bottleneck, that it'd be great to maybe, if they're gonna incorporate stuff like
consider a
that.
tree,
But I can't
but-
do it
okay.
now the way it is.
Or a bush, okay.
Okay, it's just like, yeah. Okay. I just don't know what level the appeal will go to. On the procurement, these are all sort of repeats from things I've already updated. Okay, we did get a revised part of the application for the Toganiki right-of-way. And I sent back a couple outstanding comments, and I am waiting to hear back.
This is for the stormwater?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
One of the comments is proof that they have access to the site.
okay,
And another one is the drainage calculations, like, I just proposing an increase. Yes, it is sort of super tiny, but it's still an increase, and I feel like area could be evaluated a little bit better for the area that
Sure.
I'm concerned about.
yep,
And so those are, I mean, there were only 3 comments, but I did get a call about. And then this placeholder on the Bray Park is in the memo that I think we have just received. And then in the future, I would like to present to you that there appears to be some maybe inconsistencies from conversations that you may have had in the past with my predecessors regarding permit fees, but it's come to my attention that, for example, HG&E does not pay road permit opening permit
Okay.
fees. And when I asked the solicitor's office, just to verify, do you know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
a lot. They did not have any reason why we wouldn't ask them to
we
pay.
would not, okay.
And it seems weird, but kind of like someone could say like you're paying one like from one bucket to another, one pocket to
Not
another.
really,
But like,
yeah.
we pay police on our construction project, even though
Right.
the police are still the city, like it's part of, and
Yep.
it's really the processing, and it is a lot of permits, and I believe the same could be said for maybe Holyoke Waterworks. I think
Okay.
with maybe some of the staff transitions, maybe.
Thoughts?
They should be billed for, this is probably something that's been just.
Speak to the mic.
I'm sorry. I'm forgetting. I'm used to being at the other office, so.
Okay, yeah.
This is done, I think that was past practice and just kept on doing it.
Okay.
But I agree with the solicitor's office that they should be
Okay,
given a permit fee of whatever it is, because they do charge us for other things,
sure.
you know, to us, so, especially both Holyoke Water and HG&E.
Okay. So are they taking out the permits and we're just waiving the fee, or are they not even taking out a permit?
No, they're taking out
They're
the
taking the
permits.
permits,
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
I don't know that they're like offering to pay the check and then like, but not really or not.
okay.
Or if they're just like not even pretending to be. I don't know.
Any thoughts?
Like, is it one fee for a permit, or does it depend on the size of the excavation? Or
On the road opening.
It's a $50 permit fee for each location. That really is intended to go towards the processing. And there is a part where, you know, they'll send them in a batch. Sometimes they send maybe 40 at a time. John goes through them. I will go through them quickly to make sure they're on like the city roads and not maybe a state road. So I can maybe point out like you need the state permit, not just ours. And then also, if it could conflict with one of our other upcoming paving projects. So there have been a couple where, like on the East Hampton Road or on, say, Northampton Street, like a couple places where you're like, wait, when's that work? Because we're about to get in there. So, you know what I mean? Can we try to, so there is time spent on each permit.
And I'm pretty sure the state would charge them a permit fee for a road
Okay.
opening a road.
So maybe a letter from DPW and the engineer's office just saying, hey, it's come to our attention, however, moving forward, we're going to consistently charge the appropriate permit fees, and let's see what happens.
Sure.
Because they, like you said, they charge us for things, like we don't get
We
things
pay our
for free.
utility bills. You know what I mean? Like we pay,
We don't get free electricity.
Yeah.
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 Or, I mean, I guess one could say, oh, well, it's small potatoes, but like,
And
it's
no,
not.
cumulatively, it's not,
cumulative,
yeah. Because Victoria just noted, sometimes you get 40 of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, at a time. And then there is still sort of tracking. I mean, we get complaints about maybe the repair of something, or they might do sidewalk repairs as asphalt right now, but then we have to like keep track of it because we want it to go back to regular payment. So it's no different than any other
Right.
road permit.
It's not just done and over with.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so that's just a suggestion that, you know, just a notification of these departments go out that moving forward, when they apply for the permit, there's an expectation that they're gonna pay the fee.
Okay.
All right. And then, did you want to talk about the River Terrace?
Sure, we can do that now.
Did we have any questions on Victoria's?
No.
No, okay. So.
Okay. All right, so for River Terrace, this is area 21A, or also known as Phase A. So Phase B is 21B.
Okay.
So the 90% plans in the project manual were submitted to the SRF folks for construction, and they were reviewed and sort of approved. They gave us a restricted project approval certificate, and it had a couple major items. So, and we have discussed these in the past, but one of them was easements, one of them was a WM16 permit, one was the MEPA review, and one was, I don't know, and the other one is, those were the three critical ones. So I'll start with the trickiest of them all. So the initial plans required 2 easements. One of them was at 21 Hampton Knolls and the other at 33. And it's right in between the two properties, and the properties are also very like slope between them, and it's wooded, etc. And there's existing easements there, but they would need to, they're proposing to expand them for the separation, right? Because now there's like 2 different lines that would go through that
Okay.
area. And so Woodard and Curran put together some property maps, and when the solicitor's office reached out, both property owners said that they would not consider it without compensation, and was trying to do the balance between revising it and compensation. But then they also said they were interested in the compensation through the form of tax relief, not even like an actual payment. So I did that with the assessor's office to have them figure out how much they were. And then when the solicitor's office reached back out, both property owners said no, they would not grant the easements,
Okay,
regardless of compensation.
okay,
One of them, I believe, said that's not enough, and the other person said no, never mind.
okay. So this is going to, so we currently, remember Victoria talked about we needed an extension from the Water Pollution Abatement Trust? And you did get that.
Mm-hmm.
However, this easement needs to be resolved in order to move forward with that extension timeline, because we're not going to get another.
Correct.
Okay, and so where are we now in getting those easements? Is something moving forward that we're out of the woods, or
No.
does something drastic need to occur so that we can meet our extension deadline?
So I asked Woodard and Curran to please go back and look at the design to eliminate the need to expand either easement. Like, please try to figure out to get it just within the existing easement
Okay.
areas. And then we met with them last week with a brief update, and wasn't as promising as I would have liked. It was kind of like, well, we can get them smaller, but we can't get rid of them all the way, maybe. And I was like, I said all the way.
Yeah,
But
it's
we'll see.
yeah,
I almost think there could be pros and cons to that. But they're supposed to get back to us, and we should know by the end of this week. Like, I wanted sort of regular updates as to how
Right.
this was feasible, because there is a part of me that thinks if we could go back to them and say, hey, it's way tinier, but then we're going to say, and then the amount is way tinier, in which case then they might be like, well, we'll give it, but they want the full one. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Well,
I don't
but
really know. But
Am I correct in assuming that whether it's a tiny one or a big one, the impact on the property owners is minimal to begin with?
they're not using this part of the property.
Right, so it's like,
not-
so
You said
they're,
it's unusable too, right?
yeah.
yeah, okay.
For one of the property owners, it does come like through that wooded area and through the end of the driveway
Okay,
into the street. But it will not prohibit that property owner from, it already does that now, and it's not gonna like prohibit anything driveway related.
and they're gonna get an improved probably driveway out of this, at least at that part.
I wonder if there was any issues this past weekend over there with all the
Yeah.
rainwater.
Okay. So my thoughts are, you're staying on top of this, but we do have another schedule looming where, you know, your work got us that extension. If we didn't have the extension, we would have lost the SRF funding. So we will lose it if we can't do what we need to do to go out to bid sooner rather than later.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, so there has to be some sort of other avenue, right, for us to get this,
Eminent domain?
right? Like, I mean, they won't be happy with the amount they're not happy with the amount, but if it's assessed at so much and it's not usable, you're not gonna get a lot of money for
Let's
that,
see.
or for an easement for that.
So can you make sure the city solicitor's office stays on top of this aggressively?
She has been.
So can you make sure the city solicitor's office and copy the mayor, and there's an understanding of the consequences of this being slowed down
Yeah.
and the loss of about $10 million in SRF funding?
Okay. So I will find out from Woodard and Curran this week, hopefully, about the eliminating it entirely. There is a part where I'm like, I really would love that to be the answer, but I'm not sure. If not, we have to present to them a different proposal where it's less easement area, but it's still.
Right, this is
and-
what we have to do.
Yeah.
And then, from the solicitor's office, some direction on, and if you don't work with us, this is what we will do.
Mm-hmm.
But you need that direction from the solicitor's office, and we need to have it done, because I think you had the extension here, it's only till October 11th.
Correct.
And
we
that's
have to have all
not
bid.
a long time away. Till June 3rd. Okay, so the October 11th deadline means that we have to have a contract awarded for construction by
Yes.
October 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So I have bidding in July. So one other piece that I'm trying to also work on is with the SRF folks is there is a documentation when you submit that everything has been done, whether or not there is some possibility to submit something that says that we will not do the work on those properties until we have the right, but that could still let us bid the project. But that still gets tricky because
Sure.
we will have to resolve it in order to do the
Right.
construction.
And my concern is they've been very generous with us to now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think keep asking, so I'd be concerned about them saying, never mind, you're not ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
Put in another, application, another PEF, and we'll do it all over again. And we don't want to do that. So, I would just encourage both of you to stay very aggressive with the city solicitor and the mayor's office, and in the communications, make sure you're explaining the consequences of our failure to get these easements.
Okay.
Because,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think we can stop a whole project because of two residents not wanting to play ball.
well, there has to be a way.
We have to find a way to get
Yeah.
it done.
We can make it, find out how we make it happen with or without them being party to this.
Okay.
One alternative might be, can you reach out to the ward counselor?
Okay.
See, that's Meg, see what she can do in order to expedite it with the residents.
I actually have a meeting with her on Friday.
Okay.
She wants
Okay,
to talk
yeah.
about projects, so if you could just shoot me an email to remind me, I'll bring that up.
Okay,
Okay.
because at the end of the day, this project is still at risk with losing the funding,
Mhm.
so.
And it is the last piece to be able to say that we're ready to go.
Okay,
If we had that, we would be ready to advertise today.
okay. And with this being done, though, you're ready to advertise?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes, because we got the WM16 permit on June 18th. MIPA issued the notice of project change in phase 1 waiver. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the conditions of approval is about wrapping up the long-term control plan. So we have that.
so question on the long-term, we're not changing the long-term control
I don't
plan.
believe so. I believe what they want us to do is submit the 2019 long-term control plan as a way of getting updated comments, because the original long-term control plan they reviewed and original set of
Okay.
comments are from 2000
Right,
and don't sort of apply.
okay, so note when you're talking to the consultant on that, just to make sure, there can be no changes to that 2019 long-term control plan, because that's what was submitted, and that was the basis of our consent decree. So we don't want to change it.
Okay,
So if someone wants to do that, we're okay with what's there now.
okay,
And it has to be that. We don't
Okay.
want to reopen that discussion.
okay.
Okay.
We are attempting to, like, when we have that meeting with MIPA, because I feel like there was some question as to, like, what about this update? What about this update? And I said, well, we can talk to MIPA, but my understanding is they want us to just submit it as is. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? With no changes and get the
Yes,
comments
no
out.
changes.
So.
Okay.
And then, yes, we do have the formal approval that will extend it to October 11th, which I think is one of the longest extensions they've ever given.
That's why we don't want to go back.
And then, let's see, so it was awarded, or so far it was designated to get $10.5 million of SRF funding and got council action and September of '23, but the 90% design cost estimate is 12.6 million. So that's over. They've explained that there was possibly a way to go back to the SRF folks for additional money, if necessary. But then now this EPA community grant is what they're calling it, which is from fiscal year '23 congressionally directed spending, was requested for this project. They have it as pretty generic and just River Terrace Phase A. We had a kickoff meeting with them last week. It was at the end of last week, right? And then I sent them some follow-up project information. Pieces of the program seemed a lot easier than a normal grant program, and then other pieces seemed just as complicated. So, for example, they'll have to do their own independent environmental and, like SHPO type review stuff. So
Okay.
they can review some of the stuff that we did, but for example, I don't see anything SHPO related. So they'll have to do that, like send out the notification and hear back, etc. They are checking with SRF, I guess, unless it was some specific type of SRF funding, it's possible that the SRF counts could go towards the match. So there
there's
is a
2 million, you use
25%
a 25% match?
there's a 25% match, and there's the possibility that, and I forget the terminology if I wrote it here, but there's a possibility that the SRF funds could be used as the match. And then in the event SRF funds couldn't be used as a match, there is a process to ask for a waiver of the match.
Okay,
So it seemed pretty, just there's like time associated with it. You know what I mean? Like it was
Right.
like, we could maybe change the scope and change things. It just takes time.
Okay.
You know?
so a couple of thoughts on that. And again, is there an aggressive timeline on this for getting this 2 million and
It didn't seem like it.
I don't think it's an aggressive timeline, but I think because of the unknown of that environmental review, et cetera, I wouldn't want it to like sit too long because I'd like it. We can spend money before we get it, but
okay?
I don't want to have the project like be done before it gets approved. You know what I
Sure,
mean? Like,
okay. So on the 25% match in the waiver, just a thought, because if we can't use the SRF funds as to contributing to that match, the communications that are going back and forth requesting the waiver, Jesse Laderman from Senator Markey's office, he's been very active with the city right now, wanting to help out the city when it comes to these environment. Make sure he's copied on this. You know, and I don't know who has a relationship with Richie Neal, but we want to get our federal folks copied on it to say, you know, we can't afford to appropriate this money.
mm-hmm.
So we need the waiver. If it can't come from SRF, then we don't want to give away $2 million that's been offered,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
okay? That's it?
Yeah.
Any questions? Great job.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the director's report.
Okay, for this month, as far as vacancies go, we have a loader operator in highways and bridges still available. The assistant engineer and the city engineer, as you know. The salary hasn't been increased, and there is an MOA in place with the union.
That
So-
really happened.
That really happened.
Okay.
So it has been increased?
Yeah.
Does the MOA bring it up to the 130?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, okay.
Okay, and they're advertising for the position, obviously, as you've seen on Facebook, and
Yeah,
so we just have to do it through a PWA.
yeah.
Okay.
You have your new password?
It's the same one as the old that you had.
Okay,
It's
Okay.
the same one. We have a labor and refuse department still available, but there's a couple of candidates so we're looking to hire. Parks labor position also open. 2 tree climbers are open. 2 heavy equipment motor operator positions in highway open. It's because Carlos was the old parking enforcement officer, went to highway. But now that since there's availability back in parking enforcement, he knows the need that we need a parking enforcer, so he's going back to parking.
Oh, so you have an enforcer now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We have two.
We have
One is
two.
John and one is Carlos.
Okay.
But Carlos wanted to go back into highway as a driver,
Okay,
but he sees the need for a parking enforcement officer, knows that, and he's
Okay.
good with that, so he's going back
super,
to.
okay.
So we have two HMEO positions, and obviously we're interviewing candidates for property maintenance supervisor.
Okay,
So, see what happens. Some grant opportunities, Victoria explained, but there's other opportunities we're looking at as far as safety training grants. We did the first round this year, and Fritz is looking into getting more safety training grants. The training that we've done, we're looking for the co-op program. I have to call Dean Tech to see if they have any students for us for the fall. And also, we're doing the OSHA 10 training for employees through the grant that we had received today and tomorrow. And also, flagger training will be done, I think, on the 28th, which is Friday. The budget, it's a new budget year. It starts July 1st. Right now, there are no concerns because we haven't spent any of that money yet, but we'll see. Some of the projects going on, renovation of city council chambers, draft options of council seating completed with description submitted by architectural EL and reviewed by myself. There was 4 different options for the layout, which will be presented to the council for selection in an August meeting.
so are we redesigning the seating arrangements?
Yeah. We're giving them
Okay.
4 options,
Okay.
and we're letting the council decide which one they want to go with.
Okay,
I
which
want
is
no
quite
part.
controversial
Well,
over who sits where.
That's fine.
Okay,
I'm just
You okay?
presenting we're just presenting the options. So on Ernie Pool parking garage, elevator repair. We received a variance by the Commonwealth, which was approved with an extension to complete the work by October 20th. The contractor for consulting services has been selected, contract signed, and requisition is being processed. The Sonical building, billing, I don't know where that status is yet.
okay, still unknown?
Still unknown.
So can we reach back out to the solicitor's office?
Yes.
Because that's going to have a fiscal year impact.
Is it? Or is it last year's bill?
It's already had
It's-
one
it-
fiscal year impact, but isn't there still an appeal on an existing FY '24 bill too?
No,
Wasn't it 2
No.
cycles? Okay, so it's last year's
it was
bill.
last year's bill.
Okay,
The sewer fund, there's going to be a projected $833,000 deficit in the sewer fund due to the BOD and TSS loading, which will be part of the annual settlement statement that I get at the end of July.
okay. What was that projected deficit again? I'm sorry.
833,000?
That's just on the true up, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We also had that,
So there might be additional deficit? Because you said that's just on the true up.
yeah.
So is there, might be additional
No.
deficit?
Well, it might be because we don't know what's
Oh,
for the
it's for a
months
couple
of
months.
June.
Yeah, we don't know
This
what
is through
collections.
May 31st.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's right, okay, thank you.
So, there was the issue of the chamber down at Main Street that by 391, the CSO chamber just blew out. It's usually a problem that always happens when you have high pressure coming through there, but all the rain we had. It's about a $20,000 repair. But unfortunately, we had the $100,000 from last year that we put it in the budget, so that'll
Okay.
be okay. They came out as an emergency repair.
Okay. So that $100,000 budget we had for the first time for this fiscal year, did we use it all up?
Yes,
Okay, yes,
yes.
okay. Just making sure.
Because I had to use some of that portion of that money. I needed about $18,000 I needed to use because when we did the budget last year, which was $600,000, 630,000? No, what was it for the year?
The total,
Sewer, I forget what it was.
it was about 680 or 720. Those are
I
the
think it
numbers
was-
going in my head.
Well, the issue was it was under budgeted by $18,000
Ah, okay,
because we didn't know what the CPI index was at the time when we did the budget last year. So
Okay.
it was $18,000 so I had to transfer $18,000 out of that to do.
okay.
Then we did also, just to remind you, we did the YMCA
Mm-hmm,
there,
right,
and the money also for Mark Holloman
yep,
came from there also.
okay,
So we've used all that $100,000.
okay,
Forestry Division, the contractor hopefully will come back after July 4th holiday to continue with the work. It's going to be a little tougher for us because we don't have any tree climbers.
okay,
So, recycling and refuse, I've seen that the trash tonnage has gone down consistently month to month. At the next meeting, we have it at the end of July, Mary, I think we might have it, or in August, or next.
Our next meeting,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that, but I think
Okay,
it's going to be
at-
the
but
end of
at-
July,
At
yeah.
the next meeting,
Yeah.
I'll have a year-to-year comparison for
Okay.
you,
Super,
for, regarding recycling. Figured we saved about 300 tons from last year, just projecting, and that's about $30,000
okay,
on tonnage, and about, we said it, about 100, if we go at this rate, about $180,000 on recycling costs we save.
okay,
As far as highways and highway department, they're doing the line striping and parking stalls on Maple.
okay,
They did all that area. They're going to continue with crosswalks. They're also doing, cutting the brush back on the highways and line of sight and visibility like that. That's all I have.
okay. Any questions for the director?
For the line striping, we're doing that, or?
Yeah, we do
you're
that.
doing in-house?
Yeah, yeah, it's parking stall striping.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
crosswalk.
crosswalk. And we do, then at the end of August, we all go out, no, I don't know if we have a contract, but we have to go out for contract for our long lines. And we do that under a separate contract.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, moving on, and I'll take updates from the commissioners. So Commissioner Hernandez, do you have any updates?
No updates.
Okay. Commissioner Keatner?
No updates.
Okay. Me? Okay, I got a couple. Okay, so the enterprise fund in the FY25 sewer rate study, okay, we've had several conversations with the consultant, the consulting team. The conversations were between the DPW director and me. And our original target for making a recommendation and presenting the draft enterprise fund analysis was May of 2024. But we're still lacking financial data from the city at this point in time. So we're anticipating now, assuming that financial data comes through at some point this summer, a draft report and a recommendation for the FY25 sewer rate won't be happening until at least late this summer, if not early fall. So we're back to about 6 months of the fiscal year already being used up with no sewer rate that actually reflects. But it is what it is. Okay. The integrated management plan and the environmental justice community change grant, they've kind of joined in the sense that the integrated management plan, we had to put pencils down on to the extent that the public outreach and education components of it, in the absence of a full-time engineering staff, were being put on hold. However, the project team continued with looking at opportunities to develop a capital improvement plan, incorporate green infrastructure, and those projects that have been identified are now being considered for funding for design and construction in the Environmental Justice Community Change Grant. So despite the fact that there hasn't been any significant public outreach and comments on it to this point, internally a lot's happened. So tomorrow morning, the DPW Director and I have a meeting with the Environmental Justice Community Change project team from the city. Again, it's being led by American Rivers as far as they're doing a lot of the writing, the narrative, but we have access to about $20 million worth of funding. And to date, the projects under consideration include a facility master plan. And we previously heard Veolia talk about the need to identify what our needs are, and that's going to take money. Well, hopefully this facility master plan, when funded through this grant program, would identify those capital needs at the plant. And the timeline on it would be early 2025, so it's really not that far off. Other projects in there, again, I noted that I believe I saw a reference to the fuel station. So we'll confirm that tomorrow. And again, Holyoke being a large environmental justice community, you know, we go through the door with a lot of points. We just have to tell the right story. So we're looking forward to that. Let's see. Also on grant and other funding pursuits, the congressionally directed spending request all included funding for that facility master plan as well. So that's happening in a number of areas. The Service Agreement Advisory Board. So the Wastewater Ad Hoc Committee, along with the director, the Board of Public Works, and some of our consultants met earlier this week to look at more detail what the city would like in a future contract. So we're beginning to put those, the wish list we've developed over the last 24 months are now being put down on paper, and this is what we would like the next agreement to include.
And I also think through the congressional spending, we asked for River Terrace Phase 2 for
You
the
did,
engineering
for
design.
the engineering on that, yeah. So, so we're definitely, as DPW and the Board of Public Works, we're identifying as many opportunities to be creative with our funding and find, you know, those grants, which, again, in the absence of a plan, which DPW has been putting together, it's difficult to go after money because you need that plan, and we're getting there. Let's see. Okay, final permit. So we do have a final permit issued for our wastewater, our Nippities permit. We are appealing it, and we've got a meeting scheduled at some point in July with the Environmental Appeals Board, Alternative Dispute Resolution Program. So we have three categories that are the basis for the permit. One is the limits for metals. The other is the sustainability. Although we did ask for a grant, we've got an MVP application in for funding assistance to do a sustainability plan at our wastewater treatment plant. And then the other issue is for the nitrogen limits. So I'm hoping that the Alternative Dispute Resolution Center kind of tells me that we'll all come out of it a little bit of a winner and a little bit of a loser. But we'll see what happens
Sounds like
there.
that just by the name.
I know, that's what the name says, sure. Okay, and then on June 13th, the director and I updated the members of the Holyoke Taxpayers Association on all of the good news that's been happening in Public Works. And this is the second time we've been there. And what's really interesting and makes you feel good about things is they're excited about what Public Works is doing beyond its usual just collecting the trash and plowing the snow. They're recognizing the connection that we made between infrastructure and economic development. So that's my update. Any questions on?
No.
Okay, so I will take a motion then for the consent agenda to accept and receive the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to accept and receive the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item number 4 is Chapter 214 of Mass General Laws, Acts 2002. This is on the agenda so that we can get a vote of the board tonight to affirm the Board of Public Works position. You can not, but, so the Acts of 2002 was the special legislation that detailed the procurement process for the current long-term service agreement. There is nothing in this act that says it ends after this agreement. In fact, when you read it, it reads as if it continues. So we want to move forward with consideration of this. It allows for either a 5-year extension of the existing contract, or, you know, it could be applied to a new RFP today, tomorrow, 5 years from now. But we want, the city has reached out to the Inspector General's office, asking for them to affirm that they still recognize the Acts of 2002 as still being applicable. And it's written well to the degree that it allows for a very prescriptive process. It specifically calls out what the reviewing criteria are, and as well as the ability for the Board of Public Works, the city, to look at that evaluative criteria to determine what's best for the city. It would allow for, if there's a future RFP, it's currently within the current contract, the opportunity for the city to consider a design build component if that becomes applicable, or go back to traditional design bid build. So what I would like tonight is a vote from the Board of Public Works so that a letter can be sent to the Inspector General's office noting that the Board of Public Works would like the Inspector General to affirm the Acts of 2002, and that the City of Holyoke would then use these acts as that prescriptive process in both maintaining the existing contract as well as any future RFP that might happen. Any questions about any of that?
Yeah, pretty clear.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to inform the Inspector General's office that the Board of Public Works wants to affirm the Acts of 2002.
Okay, I'll make a motion to send a letter out to the Inspector General's office to affirm the Act of 2002, you said?
You got it.
Okay.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay,
Aye.
we'll make that happen. Okay, thank you. And the final agenda item is our summer meeting schedule. So I'm out of here on Friday, assuming Aer Lingus doesn't go on strike. They are.
Is that possible?
That is possible. I'm counting on the Swifty. Yeah, so they've actually called a strike for Saturday, beginning at 5 a.m. My flight arrives at 5:30. However, I'm not the only one going to Ireland this weekend, so is Taylor Swift concert in Dublin. So I'm guessing that the Swifties will take care of all this, because there's enough Americans coming in because the prices are cheap in Europe.
I was like, Taylor Swift is not
No,
taking
Taylor
Aer
Swift,
Lingus.
no, but her fans are coming from
Yes,
the States, and
understand.
they want to get there. So so I think it was quite smart of the pilots to pick that date, but I also think that leaves room for people are going to want to make a deal. So that being said, I was looking at, I think, is it Monday, July 29th? Is that a Monday?
That's a Monday.
Okay. So barring anything that happens while I'm gone and you guys can hold a meeting, the next scheduled meeting would be Monday, July 29th. Does that work for Commissioner Hernandez and Commissioner Keatner?
Yeah.
Think so. I mean, yeah. Does
Okay.
it work for you, Joe?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. And this will probably be a pretty full agenda. You heard me early on, forecast what the timeline is with this other project. So, so Monday, July 29th, so we'll just take a vote to approve the 29th for our next.
Do
So
you
moved.
need a motion?
I do, yeah, it's an agenda item.
Okay, so moved.
Okay. Libby, second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. So are there any other business that needs to be brought before the Board of Public Works tonight? Okay, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.